Welcome back to another Underdog Legacy podcast. As always, I'm very, very excited that you're here. And also, as always, unironically, I need to hear myself talk about today's topic as much as you might need to hear me talk about today's topic. The timing is perfect, it's incredible, and I'm having to practice what I preach. I was listening to an audiobook today. I've referenced some of the audiobooks that I'm consistently listening to, and one of the statements that was made jumped out at me, and it was talking about replacing negative thoughts with positive. And Earl Nightingale, the author of the book that I'm listening to, made the statement that there's a reason why only 5% of people are actually successful to an extent that is noticeably and impressively successful. Only about 5% of people, 5 out of 100, make it to an achievement of true, deep, meaningful, impactful success. And he said the reason that only 5 out of 100 people make it to become successful is because of how difficult it is to overcome the negative thoughts in our own minds. It's not that they lack skills. It's not that they lack the ability. It's not that they don't have the desire or even the mission, the calling, or the purpose. It's that having those things, they still fall prey to the negative. And when I tell you that I've been fighting that over this past few days, over this past weekend, prior to recording this, that is an understatement. Being someone that desires success, if you're here, episode 5, you're listening to this podcast, I would assume, probably very rightfully so, that you're someone that is very interested in achieving success and accomplishing great things in your life. And you're interested in this journey because you're on the same journey yourself. Achieving success goes far beyond the skills, the abilities, or the purpose or passion that you have. You have to fight the battles in your mind, the demons, the darkness, the voices that tell you that you're not enough. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. I'm harping on it. I'm feeling it very, very strongly today because I am on the outer edge of I feel like I've won that battle for this week. I might have another one this coming weekend. We shall see. But I have won the battle this week. I am moving forward this week with intention. If you've listened to the recent podcasts, I've literally been playing over the things that I've shared in my mind. And that determination that I talked about, the trivial baseball at bat, high school baseball at bat, I am not going to let this darkness or this weakness or this fear or this self-ridicule defeat me. I'm not letting it happen this time. I'm moving forward. That being said, welcome to episode 5, where we're going to talk about why in the wide world of sports it takes so long to accomplish what we're looking to accomplish. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive into it. I've heard this statement, good things don't come easy. You've probably heard this statement yourself. Good things just don't come easy. And the more I've taken the deep dive into pursuing something that is far beyond what it feels like is possible for me to achieve, um, I'm coming to recognize that we could tweak that statement just a little bit. We can make it a little bit maybe more relevant, maybe a little bit more accurate. And all we have to do is change one word. Actually, we're changing 3 letters. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're changing 3 letters in that statement. Instead of good things don't come easy, we need to reframe that into good things don't come early. Actually, I think we're changing 3 letters and adding one if we really want to get technical. Good things don't come early. We have to lean into patience. We have to understand that things that are worthwhile take time. It's difficult because we live in a world that is microwave. and actually faster than microwave these days. Like our microwaves are faster than they used to be, right? We live in a world where if my download takes longer than it used to, or than I think it should, then I'm throwing a fit. Putting together these podcast episodes, I can't tell you how many times I've complained to my daughter about how long it takes to airdrop a video from my phone to my computer. How, like first world problems, how spoiled are we, right? But we live in this world where everything is faster, everything is easier, everything is focused on making sure that we're as comfortable and unbothered as possible. And while that's great from a consumeristic standpoint or materialism standpoint, it really sets us up for struggles and failures in the areas where the ability to suffer and to persevere and to exhibit patience matter the most. The best things in life, faith, mastery over something, character development, building a legacy, building a life or a lifestyle that is worthwhile for you and your loved ones and your community, these take time and they're never rushed. You can try to rush it, but it's when you try to rush, like I've felt this weekend, when you start to get impatient with the timing and you start to try to press and move things forward of your own volition, like your own willpower. I'm just going to force this thing to occur. That's when you start to get frustrated. Typically, I know for myself, that's when I start to fall and fail and everything crumbles down around me, and typically that leads to a spiral that can last days, weeks, months, or longer. Negative emotions, negative outcomes result, and it becomes very difficult to move forward in a meaningful way. You know, it doesn't help that we live in a culture that glorifies the hustle and glorifies the grind and makes it feel like we're supposed to be just killing ourselves to accomplish anything good. Um, I think there's a lot of benefit there. Like, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of benefit to the whole 5 a.m. club. We're going to get up at 5 a.m. We're going to accomplish these things before anybody else normally, like the normal people, even crawl out of bed. We've already done this, 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 and this. And I've had mornings and I've had seasons where I've been in that mode where by 9 a.m. I had already been up like 4 or 5 hours accomplishing things. And I do tell you that it felt great, but it was exhausting. It felt great to crush a whole day's worth of must do's before my workday starts. But at the same time, I couldn't sustain it. And I was falling asleep every afternoon, right? Those things are good. There's benefits there. But where we're misled, I believe, is the fact that we're taking characteristics of successful people, or we're trying to emulate the people that we look up to, and we're trying to incorporate what we see them do now without having an understanding of why they do it. Maybe they get up at 5 a.m. because they're just a morning person. My wife and I are the opposites when it comes to that. She's asleep at 7 p.m., falling asleep on the couch. I'm more than happy to stay up till 1, 2 a.m. working on stuff because that's when I start to feel most alive. My puppy and I are on the opposite sides of the whole sleep spectrum. Um, and typically that's probably because I put him to bed so I can accomplish things afterwards. But there's a reason why people pick things. And when we see highly successful people that have accomplished incredible things, their lives become uh, analyzed under a microscope. And we pick apart their routines and we think that their specific routines are the things that created what they've accomplished. And to an extent, that's true. But we also have to recognize that sometimes those routines, they just became a routine because that's what they enjoy, or that's what they did because they had to for a season of their life. It's not the thing that caused them to be successful. And so we can't buy into hustle culture too much. We can't buy into that. Well, I'm just going to grind it out until I get there. I think there's a measure of importance there. We have to be willing to do hard work. We have to be willing to do that. But we can't do that in an effort to speed up the process. We can't do that in an effort to force God's hand or force results into our situation. We have to move forward with patience and with sustained effort. Andy Frisella uh, is the founder of First Form and Supplement Superstores here in St. Louis. He's a polarizing figure, but he's accomplished a lot, and I appreciate his no nonsense outlook on a lot of things. But he made a statement that stood out to me one time. He mentioned that we overestimate the things that we can accomplish in like a day or in 6 months, and we underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years. We overestimate and think that, oh man, in 6 months I'm going to accomplish everything I've ever wanted. And then we get frustrated when we don't. And then we underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years with just steady incremental growth and effort, right? Look back over your life, take a second, think about it. 5 years ago, what were you fighting to accomplish? What was it that you were trying to like manifest into your life? A skill? Were you going to school? Were you on a career path that you weren't really vibing with? What was it that you were looking at? 5 years ago, I was just a ways into my self employment journey. I was fighting through a bunch of stuff. COVID happened, right? 5 years already. COVID hit. I was taken advantage of and embezzled from by an employer that I trusted and I thought was going to have my back, and I thought was a great opportunity for me to step into and do something that was fulfilling, rewarding, and beneficial to a wide community. And I lost nearly 6 months worth of my income. The employees that were reporting to me lost income. Some had quit their jobs. Some had to take out credit cards to pay their rent. And it was a very dark, dismal, frustrating, brutal time in my life. That was 5 years ago. Since then, I've lost nearly 200 pounds, which is mind blowing to even mention. I've started a business. I'm a partner in a business. I am in a better place mentally, physically, emotionally than I've been in decades. And everything is looking up. 5 years can make a huge difference. But we get so focused on today or tomorrow. And I think that the reason that we do that is because we're when we're engaging in things, we're leaning into doing work that we kind of don't want to do. We're just doing it because we feel like we have to, or we're pursuing something that isn't actually what we want. And so we just want to get there and we want to get it over with. And the answer to that is not to just lean into and fight through the suck so we can accomplish something for an employer or for a company or just to get it over with. The answer is to lean into a purpose and a mission that we actually feel passionate about and that we're willing to do and fight through and suffer and struggle for the rest of our lives. That's the answer. And that's what we have to focus on building into rather than just fighting through something that we don't really want to do. So you see how it all kind of starts to tie together, like having a mission and a passion that pulls us through the difficult times because we believe in it so much is vitally, vitally important. In the course of that journey, we have to understand that we will have dark times. We will have to fight the dragons. We will have to cross the bridge and beat the trolls, right? We do have to engage in every step of the process in this epic journey from the beginning to the goal. And rushing through it is going to rob us of what makes things so incredible. You know, additionally, spending time going through things is what builds character and resilience and like texture in our lives. There's a term in that I've heard in various contexts. You've heard someone called an old soul. When I think of this term, I think of musicianship or I think of singers like, oh, they've got an old soul. Like it just like it feels different when they sing or when they play an instrument. And from a musicianship standpoint, frequently what that means is that they have the ability to let the music and the moments breathe. They're not rushing to fill things. They're not rushing to play as many notes as possible. Like you've probably seen this. Like if you go to any guitar center anywhere, you walk through the guitar section on a weeknight or a weekend night when it's packed full, and you look at the young guys playing, and they are all just shredding, playing as many notes as quickly as possible. But then you pull up a BB King video or someone that's been in music for a long time, and you listen to them, or John Mayer or somebody like that. Like there is a quality and a patience and a texture to what they play. They can play the fast stuff, or like Eric Clapton was known for not playing a lot of very, very fast licks. Like there's a texture there that comes with time. There's a patience that comes with the time that it takes for a musician to develop into that sort of person. And that's why when you hear someone young come along and they play blues guitar and it is just slow and deep and moving, um, it's it's fascinating because typically that's something that takes time to develop. I also like to think of, I'm like, fascinated with like historical buildings, things like that. If you think of old building techniques, it blows my mind that just down the street from us, there's a kind of a historical district called Old Town St. Charles in Missouri. It's paved with cobblestones, and it is absolutely a rough road. Absolutely rough. I don't know exactly how old um, Main Street in St. Charles is, but it's old enough to be paved with cobblestones. And those cobblestones still work. Like they support cars and trucks and pedestrians. And they're rough, but they get the job done. Meanwhile, just down the street, we've got modern concrete and blacktop that forms new potholes on top of the potholes that were already there. And we've been in our house less than 10 years, and there are new potholes and new patches every single year because modern day materials just don't seem to be cutting it. We see this with old buildings that have been around for thousands of years and they're still standing, or aqueducts over in Europe and Rome and Italy and Spain and places like that. It's just like incredible works of architectural brilliance that are still standing the test of time. Meanwhile, we have buildings and materials that are decaying at incredibly fast rates because, in my opinion, it's because we've rushed stuff and we've lost the ability to take time to build something worthwhile in our architecture, in our music, in our lives, right? Hopefully, you can understand the analogies and the parallels that I'm drawing here. There's some beauty, incredible, incredible beauty in allowing things to breathe and become something over time. It's the process that prepares us to become something great. It's the process that takes those habits and those hustle tasks that you're looking at from your favorite entrepreneur or your favorite, like, stay-at-home mom that's just crushing the homestead life, or that favorite bodybuilder, or whoever it is that you are looking up to. It's the process that turned their habits into their greatness. It's not that they pick those habits up along the way. It's not that you need to mimic their habits. It's that you need to determine your steps. You need to determine what moves you forward in this process, and give yourself to that. And then give yourself to the length of time it's going to take for that to turn you into who you're looking to become. That's what I've been struggling with this weekend. That's what I've been rehashing in my mind, because it's those steps and that process that is so difficult to understand. If we saw the whole path, and we knew exactly what it was going to take, and we knew every single time we were going to hit a hard time and it was going to make us want to quit, or we knew, all right, in June, the third week, really that last weekend before the end of the month, it's going to be tough. I'm really going to have to brace myself for that. If we could see the hard times before they got here, if we could see the struggle before we undertook the things that we're looking to build, we would be tempted to skip those hard times. We would be tempted to skip the darkness. And as a result, we would not accomplish what we are created to accomplish. It's those difficult times and it's those hard seasons that give us the capacity to carry out the purpose that we were built for. It's not easy to swallow. It's not easy to internalize, but it gives me hope to talk through it with you. It reframes the perspective for me. As I said, this podcast is not the podcast of someone that has it all together. This is not the story of an entrepreneur that's built an 8-figure business and is dropping wisdom for you from on high. This is the story of someone that is struggling through the tough weekends, the dark nights, the self-denial and the self-disrespect, and the seasons and the moments, the days that it doesn't seem like it's going to work. The days where it seems like I don't know how I get from here to there. So as you're listening to these episodes, please keep that in mind. When I'm talking and I'm getting passionate because I'm getting excited that I'm remembering lessons that I've learned in the past, and I'm internalizing those lessons for today. I'm internalizing those lessons for tomorrow. And I know that I'm going to be able to hold on. And if I'm going to be able to hold on, I know that you'll be able to hold on. Don't resent the slow season. Don't resent the difficult times. Recognize that nothing good comes early. The good things that you're hoping for, you're planning and you're working for, you're praying for, are going to come when you're prepared for them, when you're ready to handle them, whether it's clients, whether it's children, whether it's financial blessing, whether it's the life or the lifestyle that you're dreaming of, whatever it is that you're focused on and you're working towards, it will come in stages along the journey as you become ready for it. The season that you're in is preparing you for exactly what you're dreaming of and what you're praying for, what you're building towards. So keep that in mind. Refocus, reframe, shift your paradigm, and you'll shift your life into something that is absolutely incredible. We'll do this together. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you'll tune into the next podcast here in just a few days. Be sure and share this if it's meant anything to you. Be sure and shoot us a text or a comment on our website if you're interested in carrying on a conversation, or connect with me on social at Michael E. Hinson, pretty much everywhere. And I will catch you next time.